Bonjour, je m'appelle Wildkard. And to my Fijian viewers, hello. Yes, welcome back, guys. Thank you for watching my content. Always my pleasure to talk about the greatest game in the world. And today, we bore witness to two great teams going into the Rugby World Cup, performing in France. So, yes, this is actually quite an interesting game, right? Going into the Rugby World Cup, there are some key areas that teams wants to work on. And I do feel like the scoreline in this game, which the France did able to beat Fiji 34 points to 17, really didn't that matter that much. Both teams went into this game with very clear intentions of the key areas they wanted to work on. And they walked out of this game with plenty of positivities out of the areas that they're looking for. So obviously for the French, they have their star player, number 10, Romain Ntamack, out to an ACL injury for the entire Rugby World Cup. The French is looking for a new playmaker at 10. But the interesting thing about the French style, especially after Fabien Gaultier taken over after the last World Cup, is that French actually already has already plays three playmakers on the field. So the number 9, Antoine Dupont, we all know him as the best number 9 in the world. He is literally the playmaker. He makes more decisions in terms of kicking, in terms of passing, in terms of where the ball wants to go, more than the number 10 himself. So Ntamack don't actually do that much playmaking out of the 10. And also the other key player that makes a lot of key decisions on the field is number 15 for the French team. And we've seen that Thomas Ramos do that quite well for the French in this year. He's absolutely spectacular for the French in the Six Nations. But today we saw something completely different in the sense of Melvin Jaminet. He hasn't played since last year, and today, not only that he showed that his goal kicking is as good as Ramos, but he showed that playmaking out of that number 15 jersey. I feel like probably a little bit better than Ramos as well. And with Antoine Dupont and 9, and potentially, Ramos and Jaminet at 15, the French really don't need that 10 that much, to be honest. The 10 is almost just, almost plays like a 12 for the French team, believe it or not. And Dante plays like a 13, to be fair. Like, it's a really interesting way that the French likes to play. They play a lot closer to the ruck than most teams would like to, and that has given them a lot of success. They've been able to find the space from playing out of the ruck area, and able to exploit like the slower forwards with Dupont's agility, and Ramos, being a fullback, same with Jaminet, being able to direct the more wider plays from the fullback position because they have a better vision on where the field is, or the position the field is when they receive the kicking game. And it is really not that much of an issue for the French in regards of losing Ntamack, in my opinion. So that's kind of the question they went out to set answer. And obviously, Jaminet has been out for about a year. His goal kicking has still been tremendously good like that. The sound that he hits the ball is just beautiful to watch. And he does have a bit of a curve to his kicks, but he's just, one of the most nicest goal kicker you will see in World Rugby today. So that's and obviously the French went out of this game. There was a lot of goal kicking for Jaminet, just to see whether he's still got the golden boot, so to speak. And for the Fijians, this is an opportunity for them to absorb that big game pressure. I think this is probably the biggest, the most high pressure game they played for a long time. The team hasn't been playing in front of this many people, consistently. And Super Rugby, a lot of these players did come from Fijian and Jura. They had that issue of really struggling away games. They get blown out in away games, and then they go home and they put on these awesome performance where they were able to put up massive upsets against teams that they're not supposed to have a chance on beating, like the Crusaders. But then it's like the away games that has always haunted the Fijians. And today, this is like one of the biggest and most high pressure away games you could possibly play. The favorites to win the World Cup in France. in a complete hostile territory. There's probably like, you can probably count how many Fijian fans are in the crowd with one hand, and they were able to stay composed for this entire game, stay disciplined, not getting yellow carded, and do their tackles, do their set piece, not, start everything stay together, which was very, very impressive and very, very critical going into the Rugby World Cup for the Fijians. And also the Fijians clearly wanted to work on the tight areas as well. A lot of pick and go, a lot of short forward running. Again, just staying that composure, not losing the ball, not panicking and throwing the ball, throwing the ball out wide and then dropping the ball, that sort of stuff. Just really staying composed, staying structured. And yeah, then that's what the Fijians wanted to look for going into this game. And they walked out, finding that what they're looking for. Again, despite the scoreboard, I think the Fijians got a lot out of that, a lot of needed experience out of that for this trial match. Another big plus for Fijians as well is that goal kicking. They found themselves a goal kicker. I was actually really surprised when, what's his name? Vola was dropped. And it turns out Caleb Muntz is much better goal kicker than Vola, because there was one point in the game where the tee came on really late, and this was a long goal kick. This was like almost 50 meters out, and the tee came on quite late, and Muntz only had 15 seconds to do the kick. And then, a long kick, he just pumped it through nice and easy, absolutely no pressure. He looked as comfortable as you can get out there when it comes to goal kicking. So I was really impressed by that goal. The first 3 points he converted for the Fijians. And yeah, I can see why he's picked ahead of Vola. Like, that composure under the pressure was very, very impressive. So that's another tick on the box for the Fijians. And also the set piece pressure in the scrum. The Fijians was able to get a few scrum dominance as well over the French. Has historically known to not just historically, recently known as one of the biggest scrummaging teams in the world. And the Fijians was able to neutralize that quite a bit. The set piece on the lineouts as well, quite even for both teams. There was no, long has gone the days where Tavita Incarnaveri just throws the ball in not straight. You remember in Super Rugby a couple years ago, he wasn't able to get ball straight, but under such high pressure conditions, he was able to get the ball in every time, which was very, very well done for his part. So with that being said, I do want to give a big shout out to the French number 3 tight head prop, Uni Antonio. He's really improved a lot since Six Nations, especially last year. Like last year, I thought he was unfit. The way he kind of like wobbles around the field. But today, his performance was one of the best performances I've seen out of him. He carried the ball hard. He defended well, and then he, really did well in the set piece as well for the French. And and he scored a try for the French just by hard carrying, using that physicality. And I was very impressed with his performance today for the French. With that being said, let's look at some of the interesting stats of the game. So 3 tries to 2 of the French, and the French had shown a lot of respect to the Fijians, was able to use a lot of their penalty opportunities to kick 3 points. Like I said, they wanted to see the goal kicking from Jamine, and they just give him all the opportunity he had, and he really proven that he still got the goal kicks. 518 run meters to the French, 404 to the Fijians. Turnovers conceded 9 against the French, which is really well done. Fijians conceded 17 turnovers, a little bit on the high end. The French was able to absorb a lot of pressure and diffuse a lot of those, Fijian, sustained phases in front of their goal line, which was really, really impressive. Tackles made, 179 tackles for the French, 24 missed tackles for the Fiji. 111 tackles and 22 missed tackles. Kicks in play, 24 for the French, 15 for the Fijians. It was really interesting to see the French actually playing a lot of running game. Kind of like was, willing to play the running game against the Fijians. I was very impressed. But the one of the things that the French did do really well is they were able to make quick decisions to exploit the space behind. And then that's where the difference in kicking game comes in. They will find the space and they're happy to kick it away to try to capitalize that space they find by shifting the ball out wide. Whereas the Fijians, they're more happy to hold on to the ball, which kind of showed in the kicking difference here. There was one goal that was hit the one penalty that hit the goalpost for Jamine, but it's 100% for Muntz. And this one penalty goal was really far away. Like I said, he only had 15 seconds to line it up because the tee came on quite late, which was Really well done for him. Lineouts won 11 for the French. The Fijian lineout was under a little bit of pressure, lost 2 lineouts overall out of 16. Scrum, like I said, I was surprised that the French actually was penalized in some of the scrummagings. There was 2 scrum collapses. One for scrum collapsing on the loose side of the French scrum in the first half, and then there was another one for hinging against the scrum. So the French actually lost 2 scrums due to those technical issues that they were having, and I was very impressed that the Fijians was able to, work, put themselves in a good spot against the French scrummaging. And one of the weaknesses that Fijians tend to have is the scrummaging. In Super Rugby they got absolutely dominated, and now looking at the Fijian scrum going up against the best in the world, holding their foot, and getting those technical penalties as well to them for themselves is quite impressive. Discipline: 11 penalties conceded for the French, 9 for the Fijians. So the Fijians actually were the more disciplined side in this game. Like I mentioned just before, this is the game that the coaches wanted to see if the players can handle the pressure, if all the Super Rugby away losses really got them out of the system, get those poor habits out of the system when players just starts to really let them focus, drop off under pressure. Really, yeah, the fact that they had better discipline over the French was really a massive win for the Fijians. So let's go through some of the key moments of the game. Like I said, the French came out quite early, putting a lot of pressure on the Fijians. Gets a penalty 4 minutes into the game. There was a offside against one of the Fijians. The Fijians actually did really well early to turn over a French ball that was really close to the try line. And then their clearance kick was chased by an offside player. So the French gets an opportunity to keep 3 points right away. Jamine converts this one. 6 minutes into the game, there was a tackle made, and Jonathan Dante lashes over the breakdown, gets the immediate penalty turnover, and then Jamine kicks another one, 6-0. And then 9 minutes into the game, the Fijians gets penalized again for the breakdown, getting off his feet. Jamine kicks this one. French scoring 1 point a minute, 9 points to 0, 9 minutes into the game. So the Fijians, again, was not relenting. 12 minutes into the game, was able to build a lot of pressure in front of the French try line. They were 3 meters short, and then there was a bit of a knock on there to spoil the opportunity there. 18 minutes into the game, the Fijians finally gets their first opportunity in a kick. Sorry, not first opportunity. Gets another opportunity in a kickable range. This is about 40 meters out. And Caleb Muntz only had 15 seconds to take this kick. And I was like, oh man, he's probably going to miss this one. Cool as a cucumber. 15 seconds is more than enough. Line it up. Bang. Pops it over immediately. 40 meters out. And straight down the center as well. It was a very, very impressive kick from him. So 28 minutes into the game, the French winger so 24 minutes into the game, Aldred was actually running down the sideline. French was able to stretch the Fijian defense a little bit. He had that guy called Biari, I think that's his name. Biali Biari. So he had the Biali Biari on the wing, and instead of throwing the pass, he kind of went for himself and resulting in getting turned over. But the few minutes later, Biari was to find himself again with space out wide with the ball in hand. He runs down the sideline, making a massive break for the French, and then the French swings the ball around the other side. There was a massive overlap on the left, on the opposite side of the field. Just good hands. Everybody touches the ball all the way to Movaka on the wing, the number 2. He goes in for the first try for the French. Jamine converts this one, 16 points to 3, 28 minutes into the game. 32 minutes into the game, the Fijians gets their first try on the ball. Akivi Levi gets the try for the Fijians. They basically just built a lot of pressure, got really close to the French try line, and it's just one of those things where it's clearly something they wanted to work on. Stayed really tight and just had one-off pass and then just crash balls, pick and goes, and eventually the big man with big leg drive goes over for the try for the Fijians. 16 points to 10, and going into half time, the French was able to get a What happened here? Oh yeah, just before halftime, France was able to get a try before the break. They go for they had on a penalty. The French kicks the ball out for the line out. This line out was quite far from the Fijian try line. This was still 15 meters away. And then they just set off the maul anyway. The ball start edging forward. The ball carrier breaks off. I think it was Aldred. He gets tackled 5 meters short. Lots of pick and go from the French. Got it really close, but eventually the ball, Antonio Wooney goes, hey, let me give it a go. The ball goes to him. He had a crash ball as well before this try was scored. So he carried the ball, got close, and then he gets up. Two phases later, he's like, I got to give another go. He gets the ball, and this time he pummels over with big leg drive. And goes over for the French. The Jaminet hits the goalpost with this one. So 21 points to 10 for the French at halftime. So the second half, immediately off the bat, the French gets a penalty. This was 50 meters out, like literally on the 50-meter line, just in front of the 50-meter line, and a tiny bit of angle as well. And Jaminet, this is probably the most difficult kick for him for the night, and he makes such a nice, crisp, popping sound, and the ball just sails through the middle of the post. Really, really nice kick for him. 24 points to 10. French leads. Just a minute into the second half. So the 46 minutes into the game, the Fijian gets a massive scrum penalty. The tight hair side for the French goes down, and it was really, really impressive to see that. The 50 minutes into the game, the Fijian gets their second try on the ball with Semi Radradra. Again, the Fijians were just building a lot of patience. Everybody was getting carried. Donge, the prop, almost got through. He almost got through a few times. It looked like he had scored, but the ball comes out because obviously no one can see whether the ball touched the line or not. The ball comes out, and then eventually Semi Radradra gets the ball out wide with a bit of a space. He crashes through. You get tackled just before the try line, and he dunks the ball down for the try. 24 points to 17. 50 minutes in the game. So with the last once this try was scored, it was looking like the Fijians are hanging in there. The French is getting a little bit sloppy. Aldridge came off for some reason, the number 8. So then the French has decided to put on the reserve hooker and put the starting hooker, Modvaka, at the number 8 jersey. So that was number 8 position. So that was a bit of an interesting shuffle around for the French there. And with the French new hooker on the field, with the new scrum props on the field, they're really struggling a bit as well. Like they get penalized right away for hinging, and then the Fijians was not sure what the French was doing with what the logic was to have 2 hookers on the field, but it certainly wasn't looking like it was doing that much good for them. But 58 minutes into the game, the French gets another try. So the Fijians was having a line out about just inside their own half, and the ball comes down. The ball goes to, I think it was, who was it? The Lamani? I think it was Lamani. Maybe it was a reserve, but I think it was Lamani. Frank Lamani got the ball. He tries to pass the ball to Muntz, and Makalou, the French forward / winger. So Makalou, if you don't know him, he actually plays a flanker and a winger. So he actually backs up the French as an extra additional winger reserve. So he was on the back of the line now as a forward. He reads this, runs up, intercepts the ball, and then ran 40 minutes. He's really fast, just bolts down the field as you would expect someone to be a reserve or winger, and he goes in for the try, for an intercept try for the French. It was really interesting here because the big mistake that Frank Lamani made here, he was way too close to the try line. Like there was one shot because everybody, once he got the ball, the French forwards already start pressuring on him, and his vision was actually blocked by one of the French players coming up on him because he was too close to the line out. Like he was literally standing maybe he could probably touch the player in the line out where he was standing. So he really didn't need to stand that close, which was the reason why he got intercepted, because there was there was really just 2 steps for Makalou to pick this ball up. So that was a massive mistake from his part. So yeah, the game kind of slowed down a little bit. the Fijians were trying to put a lot of pressure on towards for the next 15-20 minutes or so, and it was not really able to get any out of the French defense. It was really well defended for the French, but the Fijians stayed composed, work on their set piece, so that's also the really big positive for them. 70 minutes into the game, again, Makalu almost breaks through the sideline. He was running down the sideline, and his foot touched the line before he was able to offload the ball, but the French did get a penalty advantage from this nice break from Makalu, and they kick another 3. So Jamine ticks the scoreboard up on the 70th minute, 34 points to 17. Last 10 minutes or so, Fijian was basically throwing the kitchen sink at them. They had a penalty right in front of the goal line. They did a tap and go, piling on a lot of pressure, but the French was able to just hold on again and again and again, able to, diffuse the issue at the breakdown, get in those turnovers. And that 17 turnovers conceded stats really started to show, especially in this last 20 minutes or so of the second half. And finally, the game ended with the French kicking the ball out, following one of the Fijians knocked the ball on, and then they had a scrum, and the French just kicked the ball out and called it a day. 34 points to 17, really well done for both teams. I think the Fijians really showed that they could be the favorites in Pool C to make out of the pool, potentially advance into the semifinals, which is really impressive. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching this video. Like and comment, subscribe, and see you guys next week for the news. Cheers.